Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Project Infinite podcast, the podcast covering the infinite and ever-expanding multiverse of fandom. From movies, comics, TV shows, we've got you covered, and video games. I forgot that bit.
What about the games, man?
We're doing games, too. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year's.
2023.
New year, new us.
Yeah.
It's
I guess.
the same.
It's the same us. I'm Rob. I'm here, as always, with Court.
New Court, because it's 2023.
New Court, new Rob, new Project Infinite podcast. And, we're here to talk about 2023, because last week we talked about 2022, and this year we're talking about 2023, and all the things that it's going to bring, from movies to TV to video games and everything else that we talk about in this podcast. So Quaritch. We definitely had a great discussion about Avatar villain Quaritch.
Yep.
Before we started.
Jeffrey Wright.
Yep. But before that, we do have some news, starting with some really, really horrific news. Jeremy Renner was in a terrible snowplowing accident over the weekend. It was very dire at one point, and it seems like it was a really close call for him, you know.
Yeah, first and foremost, I'm just so glad he's alive, because from what the report says is he almost wasn't alive today. That would have been the horrible news to start the year as well. Especially after losing Chadwick Boseman, to lose another big time actor would have been absolutely horrible. So I'm so glad that he's alive. Hopefully he's going to be okay. I hope nobody goes out of their way to think about movies and anything. Don't worry about it. Just be glad that he's okay.
Yeah, it was like one of those things that like I read like across, my phone, like breaking news things, and I'm just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, what happened? Like, man, it's really insane. And I mean, you just piggyback that with the Damar Hamlin situation that happened last night in Monday Night Football, and it's just one of those things that I feel like should always remind us that like these larger than life people are also human, and everyday crazy freak accident things can happen to any of us at any given time. So, I guess it just goes back to like kind of like the regular through line that we have on this show as it relates to like mental and emotional health and just like treating people better. 'Cause like you truly don't know like when something really horrible could happen or something really unfortunate can happen. I mean, we had that episode about Kevin Conroy, Jason David Frank. Like, life is too short to be negative about stuff.
Right.
And I hope that kind of like translates to like what we do. Like, even when we talk about stuff that we don't quite like, we still have fun with it, and we still have like a positive discussion about it, even if it's not something that we're like totally into.
Because it's hard. It's difficult to do all these things. So, and at the core of all these things are people.
Yeah, and, obviously, like we said, just hopefully he recovers and is able to resume his acting career because, aside from making the MCU, he does good things. He does good work.
Yeah, he does.
So, just really, really, really crazy situation that unfolded there. But we do have some other news, and it appears that we may be circling a James Bond in the near future. So, Aaron Taylor Johnson has met with the Bond executives, and apparently that meeting went very well. So it potentially seems like Aaron Taylor Johnson could be the next Bond. Thoughts?
I love it. It was the one that was staring us in the face that we couldn't put our finger on. That was right there for everybody. I think that would be incredible. I think Aaron Taylor Johnson has really hit the stream, and I think I told you before I hopped on, I think Aaron Taylor Johnson's about to hit his Ryan Gosling stride. Like, I think he's going to be the Ryan Gosling of the 2020s. Like, he's going to be the guy that the heartthrob guy everybody goes to for everything right now. He'll throw a couple indie projects in there. He'll throw a couple like big blockbusters in there, but I think he's got all the makings of star power. So I think this would probably be the role. Obviously, he had an abrupt entrance and exit in the MCU. I think Bond would be the perfect thing for him to kind of have and hold. It would be a cool idea maybe if you throw Bond on, because if Bond is Warner Brothers, maybe you throw that on HBO Max. Maybe you give him a television show instead. But I do think he would be incredible as Bond. He's definitely got the physical prowess, but I think his acting ability has really evolved from 10 years ago to today. I think he's really doubled down and turned himself into a really solid staple of Hollywood right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, when you look at the last kind of three big things he's been in. When you talk about Tenet, when you talk about Bullet Train, and when you talk about The Kingsman, he's been in all three of those, and he's been really good in all three of those. So yeah, I think, like you said, I think it seems like he's starting to hit his stride as an actor. And you know, it's one of those weird things, because we talk about, it feels like Marvel always kind of hits everyone like right when they're hitting their stride, and this is one of the rare exceptions where they kind of abandoned ship too early.
And I mean, that instance might be a little bit more, it's got a little bit more flame to the fire because of the entire, you know, I know it was the whole thing with Fox and Disney not wanting two Quicksilvers at the same time, and like the fan reception to Evan Peters, and then they got all the rights back, and then they made it into a joke in WandaVision. But I do think him as Bond is a stroke of genius. Again, it was the one. It was like right under our noses, because we were saying Henry Cavill. I think I said Desmond Idris from Snowfall. George McKay, I think I threw out there. Like, there were people that could have played Bond, but it was the one. It was right there for us. You know why I told you why I forgot? Because I forgot he was British. That's why I forgot that he would probably make the best Bond. So I think that's going to be incredible. Who's somebody you want to helm this movie?
I don't know, man. I mean, there's people who like you would want to direct it, and then there's people who like realistically would.
Right.
Man, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of like prominent kind of like action directors that because I think they need kind of that. In a way, I feel like they kind of need to pull back a little. Like, they need to differentiate from the Craig Bonds, which were kind of like action heavy and more in the vein of like a Mission Impossible or like a Bourne movie. Like, I think a return to form of like the classic spy thriller would be cool.
I think you go gadget heavy, like, but you can also replace the camp with like how a lot of modern movies have a heavy emphasis on drama. I think that would probably be a really good way to go about it. So I have two options. I'm going to hold with my Denis Villeneuve one, where you get Greg Fraser and Denis Villeneuve and you kind of have them, and then you get Hans Zimmer to score this. I think that would be an incredible choice. My second dark horse that I thought about would be Steve McQueen, that did Widows. I think he would be incredible. And then you get Bradford Young to shoot this movie that did Rogue One, or he did Solo. He shot that movie. He shot, what else did he shoot? He shot he shot Selma, like somebody that's extremely talented too. It's just something about his shading I think would be cool, with like, you know, this like elusive Bond kind of moving around. I think that would be really interesting. So those are my two director / cinematographer choices. But, and then give me, if you're gonna do it, have Ludwig Göransson if you're gonna do Steve McQueen and Bradford Young. But that was just two off the cuff ones that I can think of. But I'm super excited. I do think they have a star if this is the case. So I want to see what they do. I that's a really good point about them kind of pulling back on the straight up, because obviously you're gonna have hand-to-hand cool action, and you got big shoes to fill. I mean, once you get Casino Royale and it's just like, okay, this is actually really good, and then you get Quantum of Solace, it's tough, but then you go immediately to Skyfall, you get Sam Mendes, and then you get Roger Deakins on top of that. Like, this is like some incredible talent on this movie. So how do you kind of double down and go further from there? And then you get the last two movies in that franchise. You close it out with No Time to Die. I think it was a really good finale. But this can be, I think what we're gonna get is a younger Bond, like a training Bond. Like, I do think this is going to be a lot earlier in Bond's career. I think this is exactly what that's going to look like.
And I think that makes total sense, to be honest with you. Like you said, it's kind of like the opposite of what they've historically done with like Batman in films, where it's always like the intro to Batman. Like, I feel like every Bond movie is always like kind of like he's in his prime in a way. And it'd be cool to like kind of go back to the roots and kind of explore like his quote unquote origin and do that. You do it that way, and that's a great way to kind of bring it back to like the spy thriller, is to do it like early days when it's not like he's a well-known commodity. You know, I think that'd be cool. Let's talk about Avatar.
Let us talk about Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Nope.
Sorry.
Nope.
But
maybe. So first and foremost, Avatar: Way of the Water is just it's happening again. It's happening again.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, isn't it weird how that works out? So it is quickly and maybe quietly dominating the box office once again. It's happening again. The weird thing that happened with the first movie is happening again with this movie, where it's not losing much steam. it didn't even lose steam like after the first week. I think the first week drop was like 40% or something like that. Right. But since then, every drop has been, not every drop, the second drop was like 6% or something like that. And then this week is the interesting week because from the second to the third week, it was actually a 2% bump from the previous week.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it, some piece of it goes down to marketing, sure, and in placement too. We talked about this with Top Gun. Top Gun came out at the same time because it hit like every major American holiday on the way. Like the most American movie of the year hits every American holiday going through. Like, what did it hit? It hit Father's Day. That's a movie about fathers and sons. Has undertones of it. It hits 4th of July. It hit. No, it didn't hit Veterans Day, but it hit Labor Day. Labor Day was a big one. That was a huge week for it, too, because I remember, I know they didn't do, like, the movie stayed in theaters for that time, but I remember in September, like, that was a huge week for Top Gun, like, we were talking about it. So, same thing with Avatar. You go through Christmas and you go through New Year's, and, I mean, a movie at the central core about family, I think that's a perfect narrative to kind of hold and bring your whole family to see it.
And it's one of those things where, like, I had this issue, like, around Christmas, like, I went to the movies and like nothing's out. Nothing's out really except for this. I mean, I was surprised that Black Panther was still in theaters.
Yeah, yep. Black Panther was still in theaters. The Fabelmans wasn't everywhere yet. Like the Fabelmans was like in and out of the theaters around here.
And I mean, we talked about this if you listen to our review. It's really good.
Yeah, yep. Yeah.
And I think by the time we get to like second week, third week, fourth week, that word of mouth is starting to circulate where people are like, if people were on the fence, they've now since heard, like, no, this is actually an improvement on the first one. Not just visually, but story-wise and, like, as an actual, like, movie. Like, this is an improvement on the first one. Right. So, like, if you're on the fence about it, now you're more inclined to check it out. And I think that's what's happening here is, like, the people that were on the fence, or even the people that, you know, said they weren't interested, are now, like, hearing, like, no, this is actually good. So now they're going to see it, is what I think is happening.
And I also think that it's Avatar. Like, this is it's the biggest movie of all time. Like, I do think that people were going to go see it regardless of what you hear on social media, because social media doesn't exist. It's not real. Like, it's not a real escape. Like, most of the people that say they're not going to see it, it doesn't matter. Like, there's actual people that don't have Twitter that are going to go see the movie. Like, you can't formulate your opinions based off of that. And I think this is probably one of the most prime examples, because I was told for weeks upon weeks leading up to this movie that nobody cares about this and nobody's going to see it, and somehow magically this movie just is going to make like 2.5 plus. So
yeah, I mean, if you want to break down like raw numbers, which I mean you probably could. So there's like roughly 8 billion people on this planet, and there's roughly about 400 million like Twitter users. It's an infinitesimal fraction of the world population that exists on the internet and on social media. Like, so you have to keep that in mind, especially like the overseas markets. I mean, this movie is huge overseas. It hasn't even fully like experienced its like China surge yet, because China, for those of you who don't know, are re-experiencing like some pretty harsh COVID lockdowns again. So movie theaters aren't open. A lot of movie theaters aren't open and all that. So this movie hasn't even experienced like a full China release yet. I don't know if and when that'll happen, but even without that, it's still about 1.4 billion at this point after 3 weeks, which to put in perspective, it's probably later this week or by next weekend we'll have already passed Top Gun, which obtained the same number after several months.
5 months.
And Avatar is going to pass that in about 3 weeks.
It's insane. It's insanity. Like, I do think it's gonna hit the lull. It's gonna hit the January lull, but at the same time, it might just be the perfect time, because it might be that lull which kind of prompts people to go see this movie, and it might hold for, if this movie can hold for 2 months like this, we're genuinely looking at like 2.7 to 2.8, which is it's just unfathomable that like you're told that this movie's not going to do anything, and then it just does the same thing that the first movie did. Yeah. So I think this movie's going to own the December release. And it's going to be, and I think he's going to get all 5. We got 3 Lord of the Rings movies that are like 8 hours long each. We got like 22 Star Wars movies. There's 500 Marvel movies. Like, give James Cameron the whole franchise. Like, who cares if he finishes out? at the end of the day, I think people need to understand this. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch it.
People are watching it, though. I can't,
and people are watching it.
And I can't wait to have the same conversation, like, before the third one comes out, where it's like, no one's going to see this.
Yeah, nobody cared about the second one. I was like, that $2.8 billion and the 2.9 from the first one certainly liked it.
Speaking of the third one, James Cameron has some plans, and I think he's the best and the worst at the same time.
I love it.
Like, he was being so coy about it. Like, I don't know if this thing's gonna make any money. I don't know. We might have to end it after 3, but we'll see. And then $2 billion later, and he's like, "But I got some ideas."
Yeah.
that I've been kicking around.
Hey, you guys interested in any of this?
So, the third movie, as predicted here on this podcast, is apparently going to revolve around a fire tribe, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, and I think it's going to start to play a little bit with morality too. I think it's going to be much needed for the Na'vi of not like, because the way they've been presented this whole time is like
they're all like good.
You're right. They're all good, and like all the outside people are bad, and all the Na'vi are good. Like, it's a planet. Like, obviously, the thing that like Quaritch was talking about, and like how the humans perceive them, like they're just like animals. They're not like true things. Like, that's why they're more like it's like an invasive species instead of like actual beings, which is wrong, and that's
we
big
got a
theme of the movie.
A little bit of infighting in the last one, this past one, but
that's still from Jake. You know what I mean? That's like from Jake.
And the Water Tribe, like, you could tell, weren't like inherently like bad people.
No, they were just protective over the water, like over where they lived.
The water.
Right. But it seems that we're gonna, and based off what the 4 and 5 kind of, his plan might look like, it might start to bend with the kind of not only the morality of the story, but kind of the good and evil of these characters, which is the smart thing to do. So there's a thing that says the Tiri might go on a villain arc, which would just be phenomenal, because I think Zoe Saldana can really use that, because I think she's like, she was the first one to master everything in that. And like, if you're gonna do 5 movies, like, somebody's gonna have to take a drastic turn at some point.
Here's where this game plan of like even the first one is brilliant, right? So the first one is ostensibly like a tech demo. So like the characters are pretty bare bones. Like, there's something there, but like they're pretty bare bones. They're pretty cookie cutter, right? But you've created this incredible world, this incredibly vivid world, right? That's basically what the first one did. Was like, here's the world, boom. Our characters are what they are. The second one was like, hey, we still have this incredible world, but we're going to dive a little bit deeper into these characters, right? We're going to start kind of fomenting them and giving them more dimensionality.
Right.
I like where this is going. Like, I feel like as this is getting further, like the visual spectacle and the world is still as stunning as ever, but every movie we're chipping away at the characters and really getting more roundedness out of them. And I think that's where this is headed, especially as like when you talk about the third one becoming like this like Fire Nation, which makes total sense, right? Because now like the first 2 movies visually are kind of like similar color palettes, like the blues and the greens and the oranges, and but now we're gonna do a third movie where it's like they're gonna focus heavy on like oranges and red. Like, we haven't seen a lot of red in the Avatar universe. So I think that's gonna be cool. I think he even mentioned like the Na'vi themselves in the Fire Nation are gonna be red. Like, I think that's an awesome visual, to kind of pit against, Jake, who was obviously out of place in the second one, but like, imagine him like in a Fire Nation, like, talk about out of place. And then, like you said, you go to like Neytiri having like, I think it's just so smart. Yeah,
I think Neytiri's gonna go through an existential crisis in one of these movies. I mean, she just lost her son in that last movie as well, and she's been through a lot too. It's not like Jake just arrived and everything was good. Like, since Jake arrived, as great as it might have been to start a family, she's seen a lot of trauma in the last couple of years of her life. So I think this villain arc for her would be really good. And my dream thing that I would give any amount of money to see is I need Quaritch and Jake to have to team up at some point.
And maybe that's the thing that like sends Neytiri like over the edge. Like, you're gonna align with this
guy
lunatic
that killed our son. And that killed my father, killed my son. Like, why
destroyed my people,
like destroyed my home twice. Like, why are you like, why are you even thinking about this? And he's like, I need him. Like, I need him right now. So, and I think what's going to play is Jake's militaristic mind is going to have to play into that too. Like it was one of the biggest things that I think Sam Worthington really nailed is like, I think the first one, like you said, like the characters were a little bare bones, and like, I think the fact that they doubled back into this military way for Jake, but to have to apply that to like two sons, I think is so smart. Like one son that was like taking it and one son that was rejecting it. Like that's so smart for a character that needed a little bit of a push. That's the perfect place to push from.
I totally agree. I think, like I said, it's just, we're in like a character development phase with this franchise, and I think it's only gonna produce more kind of riches at the end, because like slowly but surely, like those criticisms are gonna wither away. Like you don't hear as much criticism around this movie this time around about the characters, because like the characters were pretty strong, and I think they're only going to get stronger, because the world's already fully fleshed.
Yeah. Yep. The decision to have their kids as the main characters, specifically Loak, was genius for a new audience too, because to get kids that are the younger audience that are kids while having the kids be the main characters, it's so smart. And then you have the people that had the movie, had the original movie, like, this is why this is a family movie. Like, at the end, like, this is a movie you could probably bring your family to, and, like, your kids can, in one sitting, be connected to the family, be connected to the young kids, the father and son story. They can be connected to, kind of what's happening to the planet right now, all in one sitting. Like, that's exactly what he probably wanted out of this, and I think he succeeded. And be just
fully immersed in, like, a crazy visual world that, like, kids are very easily impressed by. Yep. So, I mean, we're impressed by it. So, like, kids are obviously going to be impressed by it. Like, hand them a pair of 3D glasses and you're like, whoa.
Yeah. This is
like, if
insane.
I had seen this movie, like, if I was, like, 12 or, like, 11 or 12, I would have been beside myself.
Yeah.
Like, it would have been the coolest thing, like, ever. So,
exactly.
He's done it.
Yeah, I think
he's solved movies. He's done it.
Yep. I can't wait for what this goes to.
I know.
Obviously you might get into the fear of what this fifth one might be, especially because that groundwork that we talked about in our review. It's the big thing that they're probably getting after is it's the AWOT thing. Like, what does it mean? What does this all mean? Obviously, you don't just get Sigourney Weaver to come back just to be a daughter to somebody. She's obviously probably going to be like one of, if not the single main character of the fifth one. So whatever that looks like, I hope he's able to kind of handle it and not keep it contained. But I love the exploration, man. I not only the exploration of the world, but the spiritual and this kind of all being exploration too is kind of cool.
Super cool, man. It's super cool. I probably should have flipped the Avatar bit with this last bit, because this last bit feels a little flat now, but the Flash...
It's not flat to us, man.
The Flash's fifth season got a poster and a little bit of news, so it's just a pretty simple poster. It's the gold boots up front.
Yes.
It says one final run, basically, is what it says, because this is the final season. And then we got some casting news that David Ramsey, Keenan Lonsdale, and I forget the actor's name who plays Bloodwork off the top of my head. I'll look it up, but they are all returning for episode 9 of this
final
season of The Flash. Do we know how many episodes this is?
I don't think it's 20. 23 seems like a lot.
But it's more than the Arrow final season.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
They said these guys are all coming in season 9. So Sendhil Ramamurthy is the actor who plays Bloodwork. So he'll be back. Interesting in what capacity he'll be back.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was more or less the play with the Speed Force and the Forces is why he could be back for this too. But I hope this... what was so good about season 1 and 2 of The Flash was how, like, simple it was. Like, nothing was overly complicated. I think one of the downfalls of The Flash was the overcomplication it was the overcomplication of things that didn't need to be. Of, like, narrative for no point. Like, just... You were very simple in your approach in season 1 and 2, and it was working every single time. So I hope this season takes that same approach. It was just that wonder from season 1 and season 2. Like, just seeing, like, this kid, this, like, young man, like, get these powers and, like, just want to do good. Like, just get back to that. Get back to, like, the nature of the side characters as well as what a lot of people liked. Like, all those things kind of culminated into what I think potentially could be the end for not only one of the most tenured, like, superheroes on television, one of the richest Lord characters in comics as well.
Yeah, I mean, and then they're bringing back the usual suspects for their guest appearances.
Right.
Like, David Ramsey, I think, has appeared in multiple episodes of The Flash every season.
Yep.
So him being a guest star is not a surprise. I'm not a little surprised that they're bringing back Keaton Lonsdale. I'm just curious of what capacity.
I'm not remotely surprised. I guess I'm on the other side of the fence for that. I'm not surprised at all they're bringing him back. I mean, at the end of the day, that's Kid Flash. Like, that's still one of the most important characters to the Flash as well. I'm glad he's back.
I'm glad he's back.
Yeah, and I do think that was a writer's thing that they didn't get right for him immediately. Like, I think what the immediate, kind of distance between us and him is like, he was like very like mean and unlikable to start, and like I don't think that's how you introduce a character like Wally West.
And then he got fun.
And then he got fun like after, but like I think you introduce him as like this fun-loving kid to start, not like he was so angry out of the gate. Jerk. Like I don't think that's like the approach.
And he was a jerk to Joe,
right?
And everybody likes Joe.
Yeah, and I think also he was already older. Like he was already already like 22 or something. Like he was already older by the time. Like I think you start him when he's 16. Like
they should have got the kid who played Bart Allen to be Wally West.
Would have been perfect. Would have been great. I agree with that.
And yeah, man. And then I guess it's interesting. Like it's intriguing by omission is like who they're not talking about.
Sure.
Because I'm still holding steady that I think Stephen Amell is gonna pull up.
I can see that
in this final season.
100%. I can see that.
So I think that's like the big card that we're holding on to, is that he's gonna appear in this final season as Oliver Queen, and he has to, right?
Mm-hmm. I can see that.
I mean, if the Arrowverse is officially going to like close out with this final season of The Flash, like they have to bring Oliver back in some capacity.
Yep. I could see Melissa Benoist coming back possibly as Supergirl, and I just think they might do like one last Justice League thing for TV.
I would try that at least. I mean, if this is going to be the end of it, like get everybody back.
Yeah, just one, like have one of these episodes.
Bring Cress Williams. I think Cress Williams has always been great.
Oh yeah, and I also think he's down to come back whenever too. So.
We already know Javiska Leslie will be the villain of this. So we don't know if she'll be back as Batwoman, but we do know for sure she's going to be Red Death this season. I'm pretty sure Tom Cavanaugh's going to be back.
Yeah, I think he's directing a couple episodes, if I'm not mistaken.
I know David Ramsey, I think, is directing a couple episodes as well. We have a new Captain Boomerang that we're going to do.
Sure. Why not?
Trying to think of what else we know, but yeah, no, I think you're spot on. I think I would bring everybody back. Like if this is going to be the end of it, like just get everyone back for like one last kind of thing. Even if like you got to do it like Arrow did it and like dedicate like an episode to like each of them. Like, yeah,
because this show was like the one that introduced the like the metahuman aspect into the DC like the Arrowverse, which was important. Like it was a hump they needed to get. It was like the Batman thing of like, do we go powers or do we not go powers? And they were like, we're going full send powers in here. And like, we always say it, as much as people like to clown this Arrowverse, they got it right first in terms of television and for DC of like an extended universe where the characters can pop up anywhere. Like you remember when Arrow season 3 happened and like Barry just popped up to save them in the penultimate episode, and then vice versa for one of the best episodes of The Flash where Oliver just shows up and they have that fight with him, Firestorm, and Barry against Reverse Flash. Like it's awesome. It's cool.
And look, I think another character that I'd be remiss if I didn't mention was Captain Cold. I think you absolutely have to get Wentworth Miller back to do. I can see that. I'm telling you, man, just do a couple, like an episode, like give an episode to like a thing with him and Supergirl, like do a thing with like him and Black Lightning, because I actually really like the dynamic that he has with Jefferson Pierce in the episodes that they appeared together. Like, man, they just, if Black Lightning had been around from like the beginning, that show would have been amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you know what?
Because Cress Williams is so good.
As much as I agree with that, the only thing I'll say to that is I kind of like where it took off, because we were so familiar with like every show we saw the origin, and immediately Black Lightning was the one show where it's like, we're gonna tell you, but like he's like 50 right now, and like he's coming back. Like I thought that was a good place
really
to start.
Yeah, man. If you haven't seen that show, go watch it because it's really,
especially
really good.
Season 1 of Black Lightning. Yeah.
Man, yeah, it's a great show. But yeah, we'll talk more about The Flash as it starts coming out. So let's speaking of looking to the future, let's talk about 2023 and what to expect.
Yes.
Because we've kind of talked about it, in various episodes, that this is gearing up to be quite a year in entertainment and other things. Let's talk about what we're expecting, what we're excited for. And I know you got some categories outlined for us.
Man, I'm the category guy now.
We're in a category phase.
Yeah.
With these episodes.
Yeah,
Till next week.
We're like the Oscars, but fun.
No one's getting slapped.
Yeah.
Maybe
we do need to have somebody get smacked.
Oh no!
Will
Smith is here.
Oh, my bad. Sorry, guys.
Will Smith just walked in.
That's my bad. I mean, let's just. I guess we could start off with. Do you want to save the most anticipated for last, so we can just go through a couple things that? Just having a little fun.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll start off with maybe a director to watch, or I'll even double down for you, a showrunner to watch, or something like that.
That's a good one. I think we're gonna be really not surprised by the who's the director of Ant-Man? Peyton Reed?
Yeah. That's actually a great pick.
Yeah. So I think finally, he's kind of made a stir about wanting this third Ant-Man movie to be big, and I think it's because he's gonna cook in this Ant-Man movie, because the first movie was he got handed the movie kind of late.
Yep.
Because Edgar Wright was attached to this Ant-Man movie.
Wright's I'm Edgar Wright. You're not going to tell me how to make my movies.
So he kind of made half his movie, half Edgar Wright's movie, and then Ant-Man and the Wasp. It was his movie, but also he had to deal with the Infinity War stuff, being in between, the in between between Infinity War and Endgame. Yep. But now he's getting a trilogy. As much as people might want to be wait, Ant-Man has a trilogy? Yep, it's a trilogy, and he's being handed the first theatrical appearance of their Thanos. Basically, it's very reminiscent of what James Gunn got with the first Guardians of the Galaxy, where Thanos was in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's gonna be interesting, and I think this is gonna be a really interesting look for Peyton Reed, because if this movie hits hard and he's got Jonathan Majors already, Peyton Reed might be a dark horse for Secret Wars.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I think this world exploration for him is gonna be big. I can definitely. I don't know how to explain. It was kind of what we talked about on a couple movies last year. We talked about it specifically with the Batman, where you kind of got this feeling. I have this sneaking suspicion he has this kind of hold on Kang. He has this understanding of how just absolutely menacing Kang can be, and how it's not a fist dangerous and a punch dangerous. It's there's an inevitability danger to Kang that I think Peyton Reed really understands right now. So,
and he's paired with just we've spoken Jonathan Majors praises before, but man,
and also he's got Paul Rudd. He also has Paul Rudd right now, so he's definitely got talent behind him. He's got all He's got all
it's
the
all
makings.
Setting up. Yeah,
it's all set.
It's all winding up.
And this is the first one of Phase 5, and all that feelings that you didn't have in Phase 4, I think you're gonna get again in Phase 5 too.
Yeah, that's why I just think Peyton Reed's in an interesting position.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go with Denis Villeneuve, and I'm probably gonna talk about this movie at length, but I just have a feeling that again, it's like Avatar, right? But obviously I think that Dune Part 1 is great. I think it was one of the best movies of 2021, but it was the groundwork laying, and then 2 is gonna be this is actually the movie that we wanted to make with 1.
Yep.
So it's because he has immense pressure, but I think pressure makes diamonds, and I think this is his franchise. I think think about it this way. This was the one franchise that was the thing that nobody in Hollywood wanted to touch because of how infinitely difficult it was. And then he did it. He did it with his team. So I think that he's the biggest, he's the one I got my eyes on for. I think he might do something truthfully special in November, and I think Part 2 is going to be I think this movie is going to be possibly, it could be the best movie of this year. And I'm going to hold on that. Like, I do think this movie is going to be incredible. It's going to be gorgeous to look at, as always with all of his movies. But I think this narrative is going to be really intriguing and really interesting. And it's going to be a good versus story too, especially with Fade. Like a dark mirror to Paul, I think is going to be pretty cool as well.
Yeah, I totally, that's such a great call. I mean, like you said, he really embarked on an impossible task.
Yeah.
Like we talked about it when we talked about the movie. Like, nobody wanted to touch this thing. I mean, it's such a grand work to try and adapt to a film, and I think Denis Villeneuve did as good a job as anyone could have.
Yeah,
and like you said, part 2 is going to be exactly like that Avatar mold. Like, the world building has already been done.
Yep.
And now we're just going to dive into the characters.
It's funny. I was watching Blade Runner the other day, Blade Runner 2049, and I was just looking and I was like, how is this movie, like, how does anybody think to do any of the things that they were doing in this? But like, I was like, this is like surreal watching this movie, and I think Dune Part 2 is going to take place in that. But I think it's going to. I think once you do Part 1 and Part 2, Part Dune. Once you do Part 1 and Part 2, and then you do
Dune, you say
what I presume 3 is going to be Messiah. I think and I think Messiah is going to be like a straight up, like, I think, Descent movie essentially for Timothée Chalamet. I do think that it's going to be like, once you get the trilogy together, like, I do think this is going to be revered as like one of the greatest science fiction trilogies of all time. And then whatever they want to do after that, like, I just feel the bones being like laid for this, like something like we're going to see something we've never seen before in science fiction.
It's entirely possible.
Like, Dune it's the science fiction book. It's Dune. So like, and then you get Denis Villeneuve, who can just do anything. It feels like, I feel like he can literally do whatever he wants. Like, that's how good he is. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. So I think he's the director everybody should have in his mind. So he's gonna have that last part of the year this year. He's gonna have November and December. So I think he's crafting something.
And no Marvel movie.
No Marvel movie. No Marvel. No Star Wars. No Marvel. No Star Wars. No DC. I don't think. I'm pretty sure there's nothing in the back half of the year, because I think the DC. Aquaman. Aquaman's gonna be there. But DC's going to be done by that point. Like, the DCEU will be done, and that's the last taste of the DCEU, so I don't even know if that's even going to hold of a threat, honestly, to that movie, so we'll see.
Aquaman made $1 billion.
Sure, yeah. Right.
So I don't know.
Right.
We'll see.
Who's your actor to watch in 2023? Who's the actor that people should kind of have their eyes on, of either a star that's already there that's going to give a performance that's going to be incredible, an up-and-coming star?
I mean, is it dumb to say Jonathan
Majors?
I
put Jonathan Majors too. I just think it's simple, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's about to it's takeoff time for him. And we're going to see it with Ant-Man. We're going to see it with Creed 3. We're going to see it. We've already seen it with the movie that he just did with Glenn Powell recently. And yeah, I think this is every year, probably every year. I could be wrong, but it feels like every year we get like one actor that's like, whoop, here comes this person. Like, Margot Robbie's had that title before.
Florence Pugh had that.
Michael B. Jordan had
that.
Way back when.
Jenna Ortega had that this year.
Yep, she's having it. Jennifer Lawrence had it.
Jennifer Lawrence had it big time.
Yeah, so I think Jonathan Majors is on that track, and we're gonna see in February. Like, we're gonna find out really quickly, because he's starting the year off with just a movie that everyone is kind of anticipating as being a big deal. He's being positioned as like the Thanos of the next phase of Marvel movies, and then he's doing other stuff too. So I think he's striking that balance that I feel like some actors don't necessarily strike when they end up in like a fandom zone. A fandom zone. Oh God, we've jumped the shark, everybody.
You wouldn't kill us yourselves. You damn us to a black hole. Oh, Michael Shannon. That's who I wanted to play William Stryker. There's no context for people listening to this, but this means the world to me right now. This is everything I've ever needed in my entire life. Should I give the context so people aren't confused?
No,
perfect. Michael Shannon as William Stryker is the perfect casting. I can't believe I figured it out. This is insane.
Jonathan Majors.
I'm so happy right now.
I said everything that I need to say. So, were you also going to say Jonathan Majors?
Yeah. Oh, it's easy. I think It's him. He's got all the intangibles. Go listen to him talk in interviews. Like, he's insanely intelligent as well. His regiments and his days are like inspired. Like, he's just like a very complete person. Like, he's got that movie star thing to him. Like, I gotta think if Jonathan Majors was born in like 1965 instead of 84, 85, which he was born, like, he would have been like this whole debate of like the Marvel star versus the action star. Like, he would have been that action star in the 90s or in the 2000s and the 2010s. Like, it would have been him. So he's got everything that you would want. He's got the physique. He's got the look. He's got the acting ability, and I think having a Creed movie and having this, he did an interview the other day. He says he still wants to tackle characters and do these smaller or indie movies. He talked heavily about Frederick Douglass being a person that he wanted to, because he talked about a biopic. Like, that's the thing. I mean, you can kind of take what he did in The Harder They Fall, but I think the biopic that he would be Frederick Douglass would be incredible.
That'd be cool.
I think his career is. I think this is the year. Like, I think this is the one. Like, he's on the rocket ship, and this is the year where it's going to completely take off.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yep.
Like, it just, like we ran through the list of people that we just talked about. Like, you just feel it.
Yep.
You just feel it, and then they just go.
They do it. They do the thing.
So that definitely feels like where he's headed.
Sure.
It's funny because, like, I feel like someone like Robert Downey Jr. had like a couple of those. Yep. Like, early career RDJ, and then like Iron Man was like,
Yep.
And then it, retook, but Jonathan Majors is definitely on that Hollywood star path.
Agreed. What's your Marvel theory for 2023?
Okay, so this is the one that I withheld from you, so I have to make it worth it. I think they're going to bring back Nico Minoru in a pretty interesting capacity.
Okay, what project are we thinking?
I don't know. I could see her Dark Horse appearing in Agatha Coven of Chaos.
That would be kind of cool. I like that.
It just, I don't know. It's just something about like her being announced as a character in that Spider-Man animated series, which I thought was odd. And then she's a prominent character in the Midnight Suns game that just came out. And I'm like, that's interesting.
Right. Yeah.
That, like, she's appearing in, like, these two things, like, out of nowhere, all of a sudden, like, hey, this character. And so I'm like, and now we're getting, like, to, like, the magic-y, like, witchy stuff. Yep. And I'm like,
so they're doing all these young adult characters, right? What was the one, besides Wiccan, like, if you were to keep Wiccan out, like, what's the one thing they were missing? It was a young adult magic user, and I think Nico Minoru would be the perfect, like, influx of that, too. I think that's a really great...
And you can bring back the actress who played her in The Runaways, because she's 27?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or 26?
Yeah, you can bring her back.
And
her and Haley Steinfeld are, like, the same age. You can bring her
so
out.
I think there's something going on with that character that I can't quite figure out.
Right.
And then, like, I saw her in, like, Midnight Suns, and I'm like,
why are you here again? Yeah, like, right. That's
and
cool.
then it made me remember back to the Spider-Man thing, and they were like, Nico Minoru is going to be in this.
It'd be his best friend.
And I'm like,
Right.
And then, like, we're trying to figure out what this Agatha Coven of Chaos show is, and then I'm like, witches.
Right, yeah.
like, of course. Like, so, I don't know. It feels like, I'm not saying she's going to show up in Agatha Coven of Chaos, but if she does, I won't be totally shocked.
Sure. I like that a lot.
That's what I'm going with.
Cool. I'm going to go with Daisy Johnson's going to make her return to the MCU, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to be canon. And we're going to figure out... So, I was thinking about the shows, right? Because I'm doing my whole rewatch, and I'm on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I slowed down heavily. It happens this time of year. It's tough, but now it's January, and I can speed back up. And I was watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and, like, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 5's sole purpose is to talk about, like, timelines and, like, how things happen, like, and I was like...
What did they know?
And I've been this person for, like, the last 4 years to say, like, every show is still canon. It's just every one of these shows are all on a divergent timeline. Like, I do think that Chloe Bennett's gonna make her return as Quake in some project, and I'm not gonna lie, it could be Secret Invasion, could be the one. I think that would be kind of cool to incorporate the multiverse into it, maybe, if she's on a divergent timeline. Because I'm technically, if you look at, like, 2013, 2014 MCU, like, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was still, like, canon to everything too. So I think what happened in season 5 is what took them on a different timeline and a different path. And like all that stuff could have created an incursion too, because they got taken out of their timeline and put into the future too. Like that could have eroded the universe, as John Krasinski's Reed Richards would like to say when he phoned it in. But yeah, that's my big theory, is that Daisy Johnson / the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. / Cloak and Dagger / what else you got? / the Runaways / what else is there? / the Netflix shows. Like everything is gonna become canon into one, and like by the time we hit Secret Wars, like all those characters are gonna be in it.
Yeah, I think it definitely feels like there's something going on. Again, it's like the Nico Minoru thing, like that that actress and that character, like it just feels like, I don't know. Mm-hmm. It feels like they're withholding something, especially as it pertains to like Secret Invasion. Like it feels like there's going to be like a big aha in that show, and that could be it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this whole S.H.I.E.L.D. thing is like, I don't like the MCU without S.H.I.E.L.D. in there. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, even if it's Sword, like I just don't love the MCU without like the agency behind it. So I think it would be great to kind of bring S.H.I.E.L.D. back and like have one of Fury's sleepers as Quake herself would be kind of cool.
Like the Ringer.
Right, yeah, right.
Like he's like his back's against the ropes.
Yeah. She had a very much Stephen Amell. I was thinking about it because I was like, once she got to like season 4, and then she was like, Chloe Bennett like turned herself into like a pretty good actress.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's because she was a bad actress to start. I just think she was a young actress to start that didn't have like, you know, these top level directors with her. I think she was just acting.
And I mean just the writing in general.
Right. It wasn't great.
S.H.I.E.L.D. wasn't great. Like,
I think when S.H.I.E.L.D. forgot about the rest of the MCU, that show like legit, like we're not joking, like the show on season like 4 legitimately turned into like a really good television show.
Oh, season 4 of S.H.I.E.L.D. is one of the best seasons of any television show ever.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
You get the framework, you got Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider arc to begin, and then you flip it into the framework. It's just, it's awesome. It's awesome. So I hope those characters come back. Give us Cloak and Dagger back, you cowards.
I'm going to keep banging that drum until it happens.
They just know how to do the young adult stuff. They've got it.
Yeah, I mean, even you look at Ms. Marvel too. Mm-hmm. Like we've talked about that show a bunch.
I mean, you look at Spider-Man himself. Like they're getting it.
Yeah.
All right. What's the whiteboard? Who do you want to see added to this whiteboard in 2023?
The world famous whiteboard. Mm-hmm. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what's coming out this year. Have we done Aaron Taylor Johnson?
No, I don't. He's not on the whiteboard. I have the whiteboard right here. He's not on there.
Put him on there.
Okay. Oh no, you're doing this because of Kraven the Hunter, right? Oh no.
Oh God, that is coming out this year. Oh no.
Is it my turn to lie about this and say I love it? Because you had Venom, and then I had Morbius, and then I guess I have to have Kraven, and then I guess you have to have El Muerto, and then I have to get.
No, I don't want El Muerto.
I don't want to.
Oh no.
What is Sony doing?
I don't know. But look, if they keep doing this thing with this unabashed confidence, I might have to put them on the whiteboard.
Yeah. So Sony's like the J.R. Smith of the movie studios.
Yeah, just do it.
Yeah.
Just release the movie.
Yeah.
You cowards. We don't have to call them cowards because they're like, we'll do it.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it twice. Yeah, we'll release Morbius again.
I can't believe they did that.
Not funny. That was the definition of not funny. Ha, funny, weird. We're not laughing with you. We're laughing at you.
So Sony Studios is something.
Sony Studios, okay.
is potentially
Aaron
going on the
Taylor
whiteboard.
Johnson, Sony Studios. Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'm going to put Greta Gerwig on there.
I was thinking about it, but then I wasn't sure she was already there. But
she's not there. Yeah, Greta Gerwig's 100% I think going to be on there. I'm going to put Nia DaCosta on there too. I do think she's cooking something up with the Marvels too, and I think she's going to be great. And I've got a little more on the Marvels for this prediction thing too. So I think she's going to get on there too. Jonathan Majors is already on. Jonathan Majors is almost like him and Andrew Garfield are like battling for the top spot.
And Matt Smith. Yeah.
So it's tough up there. And Jeffrey Wright. That top spot is a coveted position that Andrew Garfield still has.
I might be ready to put Iman Vellani up there.
Yeah, sure. I got to see what she does in the Marvels, but
I like her a lot.
Yeah, she's great. She's incredible as Miss Marvel, and I think she's like the perfect influx of energy. And I think getting her in a movie is the right right thing to do.
Yeah.
So you got, what else do we got? I'm gonna put Austin Butler as Fade Rotha as well. I just think he's gonna be like an unequivocal menace in that movie as well. I just need them to recreate the lunacy of the fight they had in the '84 Dune. Like, I need them to do that again.
Yeah.
I just think that Dune fight, like, do like the John Wick style of like just a one take, no cut camera. Just have them just box for like a solid really 5 minutes would be so cool. All right, what's your sleeper project of 2023?
Oh, man, I don't know. I'm trying to think what's coming out this year. I'm gonna say Transformers: Rise of the Beasts.
Okay,
I think it's gonna be really good.
I like that.
I don't know why.
I like that.
I think maybe it's because I just have blinders on for Beast Wars, but like, I don't know, man. I really like that Bumblebee movie a lot, and I feel like not a lot of people think about that movie because it's not a Bay Transformers movie.
I was watching it the other day. It's good. It's solid.
I think it's really good.
Yeah.
I think 7 Transformers movies later, they're like, hey, why don't we just do stuff about the Transformers?
Maybe.
And,
we're like, huh?
and do that. So, I like the look of the characters. I think the characters look cool. I feel like it's also going to get like underserved, like being in that month.
Yep. We got to talk about June, July, because boy.
So I feel like it's going to get like kind of lost in the shuffle, but I think it's going to be really good.
Sure. I like that a lot. I have two. I have a fandom one and a non-fandom one. It's funny to say sleeper, but I think it's Indian. You know what? I'm going to double back. I was going to say Indy 5. I'm going to say Mission Impossible 7 is going to be the dark horse.
Tom Cruise does it 2 years in a row.
Yep. It's the team, man. It's the team they have. It's Christopher McQuarrie. It's the fact that he's writing it and directing it. Like, he's got the best helm on it too, because not easily, and obviously the guy's busy, but like, you could have had Joseph Kosinski try to, direct your movie, but it's just the fact that Christopher McQuarrie has been directing these movies. Like, I think he narratively has like a stranglehold on these movies, and like how tight they are. The action's great, but the twists are even better, I think, about those Mission Impossible movies. And is that not what you want from them as well? So I think he's really got a helm on this. Tom Cruise and team are coming off one of the biggest movies of all time now. So just having like, this is the next project he has off Top Gun, like that alone is going to get people in the theater too. And I just think the new age Mission Impossible movies are special, especially Fallout specifically. I think I still will beat that drum to the end of the day. I think that Mission Impossible Fallout is one of the greatest action movies of all time. It's one of the best shot action movies. The sequences are breathtaking, but that story is really solid as well.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that Mission Impossible 7 is going to... And because that June-July slot is just... in a second, I might have to talk about the June-July thing, because it's nuts. Like,
it's out of control.
It's insane what's coming out in the 2-month span. And this is just movies, too. Like, we're getting shows and games in those months, too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to have to go with Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. Part 1 of 2.
Part 1 of 2. Yeah.
And then my non-fandom one is going to be The Challengers. This goes into the realm of movies court watch, apparently, that nobody else watches. So no idea what that is. It's Luca Guadagnino that did Call Me By Your Name.
Okay. Familiar with that.
Right, and Bones and All, recently from this year.
Yep.
That got really good reviews. He's got Zendaya this time. That's specifically what it is. So she's
another one.
Yeah, he looked at...
Yep,
he looked at Timothy Chalamet. He's just like, what... You know Zendaya, your friend? Can I act... Can I have her act in my thing? And he was like, I don't know, I'm Timothy Chalamet. I'm new age Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't care.
Whoa.
I'll say that with no hesitation in my voice, that he's our day's Leonardo DiCaprio. We're acting like we're saying this as if he's 50. He's 26. Like, he's got all the time. Like, think about what Leo was doing when he was 26.
What if he was 50?
That would be hilarious. He's got Benjamin Button's disease. But yeah, so this movie was described as a sexy tennis adventure with Luca Guadagnino. I mean, an award-winning director. You get Zendaya to be in your movie.
Couldn't you argue that King Richard was that? No?
Oh, wow. Got him. And that's been another week of the Project Infinite podcast.
Go ahead,
that's what this movie was explained as. I think this movie is going to be. I mean, he was talking. I was listening to a couple of podcasts around the time he was releasing Bones and All while I was shoveling the driveway, which is my favorite activity. I don't put on music to shovel the driveway. I put on podcasts about movies. It just gets my brain flowing and gets me active. But he was just talking in length about, because they were asking. Obviously, you ask any director what's your next project. He was just like, I'm actually going to get the chance to work with Zendaya. I think Luca is one of the best directors working today. He's got such a handle on like this vintage way of thinking about movies too. He's such an owner of these films too, which I love as well. Like he's talked about it too. Like, I should be the person that owns my movies because I'm the person making my movies too, and that's narratively and that's the movie itself, which I think is awesome. So you get Zendaya, you get him together. It's just a match made in heaven. I think that was his next natural progression. So I think that movie's coming out way later in the year. So looking forward to that.
Cool.
Scorsese's also coming out this year. So.
Ooh.
What's he doing? Scorsese. Who does he have? I think this is the first time he has De Niro and Leo in the same movie. This is the first time. What was it? Something of the Flower Moon? Killers of the Flower Moon. Yeah. So
yep. I'm familiar with that. I remember that.
You give me Scorsese and you give me Leo and you give me Robert De Niro. You won. You got it.
Get Marty to do Secret Wars.
Nope. What? Oh, man.
Get him to do a weird Gotham crime drama with the Falcone family.
Yeah.
It's The Godfather, but it's Batman.
It's The Godfather, but it's Batman. All right, so who do you think's going to get the hashtag acting award in 2023?
Oh, man.
Should we explain what this is? Because I think it might be... It's not the best performance. It's just like when you look up acting in a dictionary, it's like the dramatized version of that. But it could be for better or for worse. You know what I like?
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to explain it.
I think I'm going to do one that's going to be for the better, and I'm going to go Ryan Gosling in the Barbie movie.
Sure. I love that. I love it.
I just feel like, I don't know, I just think Ryan Gosling was weirdly built for this movie.
I talked about with Aaron Taylor Johnson, with from 2007 or 8 till 2018, was Ryan Gosling not the it guy in Hollywood that you get to be the lead? He was the guy that you get.
And I feel like, he's done the performative thing, he was in La La Land,
he's done the performative thing, he's done the indie thing, he's done the blockbuster thing, he's hit all the categories you need to hit. This is the thing, this is it.
He was the worst safety in the history of football. So I don't know, it just feels like Ryan Gosling as Ken is just
it's just so this cast is
it's a recipe for acting.
Margot Robbie as Barbie and Ryan Gosling as Ken is the most genius casting you can think of.
They might be the first duo to ever win the hashtag acting award from us, because it just feels like she's gonna be dialed up
oh my God.
To a 13. He's gonna be dialed up. I mean, my other competitor for this was gonna be Simu Liu, also in the Barbie movie, because I feel like he his personality in real life was also weirdly built for this movie. So I feel like no matter what, the hashtag acting award's coming from that Barbie movie.
Sure.
So I think but I'm gonna go with Ryan Gosling, because I just feel I don't know, just Ryan Gosling and Barbie and him being Ken, just in my brain I'm just he's gonna do something just remarkable.
I'm going to have to go with Tiana Paris in The Marvels. I just have a feeling that she's going to do the exact same thing that kind of Rooster did in Top Gun Maverick.
My honorable mention, by the way, was going to be Christopher Walken in Dune.
Oh, I forgot that he's playing Shaddam IV.
But go ahead.
Oh my God. This might be the best movie of the year. Is Austin Butler going to keep his Elvis, is he going to keep the accent when he's Fade?
I don't know.
Oh, that would be so cool. That would be hilariously stupid. I think Denis would be I don't know, just do what you can.
Go back to talk about Tiana Paris.
Yes, I like I said, I think she's going to have a very Rooster-esque approach in this movie, as Carol Danvers is going to be her Maverick of she right now hates her. Like, she very much does not like her.
I'm still waiting for them to explore that tension.
It's the dynamic, and I think her exploration of her powers, too, because, like, I think a big piece of the movie could be, like, especially with them, like, switching powers, which is the theory of, like, they're gonna switch places and power, or I don't know if they're switching powers, but places. Like, I do think that, like, Monica's gonna get these powers, and she's gonna be like, good thing I have them, because you never should have had them in the first place. It should have been my mom, or I'm glad that it's me now. And I think that they're gonna have a confrontation in this movie, and Tiana Paris is gonna do the acting we talk about, and I think it's gonna be really good. Like, because I think she's gonna be like I think Aman Vellani is gonna be like the emotional core, and like the comedic core, and I think like, I honestly think Brie Larson's like the wild card in this, but I think that
I'm excited to see her in this too,
because I don't know what we're gonna get, and I think that's a great thing for her. And I think Tiana Paris is gonna be like the stone and like the rock of this, of like bringing everybody back down to like earth or hello wherever you are. But I think she's gonna be the person that's gonna kind of like ground everybody and like back to reality and all this. She's gonna be like she's gonna kind of be like Dig and Arrow, like just like not having any of this, like mission based only, not here for any fun. So I think they're gonna play well off the three of each other. Like, it was such a good decision to kind of, you know, take away from the Captain Marvel and then just be like, this is about Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, and Photon instead. And then getting Nia I don't think people understand, like, getting Nia DaCosta, like, this is another getting a Chloe Zhao or a Ryan Coogler, like, this is the same example. Like, you're getting an actual director to direct this movie, I think is good.
I agree. That's a great pick too, because I am weirdly excited for that movie.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, like, the dynamic that's going to take, like, with the three of them. Like, they're three characters and three actors that are kind of at different stages of their lives and careers. So I think it's going to be interesting. And hopefully, what I'm hoping that this movie does specifically for Brie Larson is what Thor Ragnarok did for Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, that's a great point. I love that.
Because, you know, just in interviews that she's given, like, recently, like, I don't know, it feels like she is kind of burnt out a little bit. Sure. Especially, you know.
Yeah, I feel so bad. It was like breaking my heart watching those interviews.
Like the criticism and stuff. Like, she wears it well, but you can tell, like, there's something there. Like,
because there's a lot of just hate that just is unwarranted. Just doesn't make sense. It's just.
So I'm hoping that this sort of does that for her. Like, it kind of reinvigorates her because she deserves it.
Sure. All right, now we're into it. We're into the most the most anticipated section. So let's start with your most anticipated matchup of the year.
Barbie versus Oppenheimer.
I knew it. I knew you were going for it. That's why I put it in there. I knew it.
It's Barbie versus Oppenheimer.
Should we launch into the June-July schedule? I think this is probably the perfect time to talk about the June-July schedule.
I mean, if neither of these movies move from their
I don't think
spots.
they're gonna move. I think it's so smart to leave them against each other, because at the end of the day, never mind, I was gonna say they both have the same. No, they don't, because Christopher Nolan left Warner Brothers to go to Universal.
This is gonna be what everyone thought Captain America 3 and Batman vs Superman was gonna be before DC folded.
Is it like, do you think that Universal did this on purpose to be like, all right, Christopher Nolan, you think you're some big bad director that's like so serious in himself? Here's a Barbie movie that you have to contend with now, and we're gonna get two of the most popular actors in the world to play Barbie and Ken, and we're actually gonna get an award-winning director to do this instead, and not take this as a joke.
Take that, Nolan.
And that's why Christopher Nolan built an actual nuclear bomb. Alright, so we're gonna look up the 2023 releases.
But yeah, I mean, as far as like, no on-screen matchup entices me more than the Barbie Oppenheimer matchup.
It doesn't feel real that this is like actually going to happen, but
it's so crazy. But I'm so excited for it because I don't know what to expect. I like the box office numbers. How are we gonna podcast that week? Like, what are we doing?
The whole. Like, it's like a 3-month period of like, I don't know how we're gonna do.
But I mean, just that week specifically, like, what are we supposed to do? Like, are we just gonna do a Barbie v Oppenheimer Dawn of Justice episode?
Yeah, we're gonna have to do like how we do like our normal fandom like pre-shows. Like, this is probably gonna be one of the best pre-shows because it's going to be hilarious. You're going to get to do your comedy. I'm going to get to do my movie thing.
Like, what are we supposed to do with this?
It's perfect. This is the perfect... It's like the best problem to have. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
So June 2nd is Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, man, yeah.
Or Across the Spider-Verse.
Yep.
A week later is Transformers Rise of the Beast.
Yep.
You ready?
Yep.
A week later is The Flash.
Yep.
And then we're getting a Wes Anderson movie also in there. And we're getting a Pixar movie all in the same day.
That's that Elemental movie,
Yeah,
right?
so we're getting Elemental and Asteroid City. So, award-winning director, DC movie, and a Pixar movie.
Yep.
The 30th, we're getting Indiana Jones.
So, real quick, as you're saying these movies, like, this feels like, you know that meme of the the soldiers outside the door, and then there's the clown?
Oh, yeah, right.
The Flash is definitely the clown in this scenario.
That's great. July 7th, we're getting another Insidious movie, so another big horror franchise.
Yep.
The 14th, we're getting Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning. And then the 21st is it's the day. It's gonna happen on that day. We're getting Barbie and Oppenheimer on the same day, July 21st. Mark your calendars.
What are you gonna do?
I love like the meme of like it's like the Goodfellas poster, and it's just like 4 tickets to Barbie, please.
What are we gonna do?
And then July 28th is The Marvels.
Oh, I'm already getting anxiety about.
And then August 4th, we're getting a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. And then August 18th, we're getting Blue Beetle.
I'm getting anxiety just thinking about trying to kid out the podcast for all these movies. I don't know what to do.
I'm gonna have some fun. I'm excited. As the person that doesn't have to transcribe these, I'm actually very excited about this.
This is gonna get out of control.
This is where the fun begins.
It's self-sustaining now. Man, that is insane.
It is nuts. That June-July slate is just...
Biggest matchup, June and July versus me.
Yeah.
Me and my wallet and my time.
No,
oh, man.
should I talk about my matchup now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. It's gonna be Fade versus Paul. I think they're gonna craft something that's like...
Not Creed versus Creed's friend?
I was 2 seconds away from saying that. I was like, it's like a 1A, 1B. It's just because how much I love Dune. I couldn't not say, because I do think it's gonna be one of those, like, fights that people are gonna remember, too. Like, I think this is gonna be, like, a very cinematic, like, art house mixed with, like, a John Wick, like, modern day action fight. Like, I think because I do really like I like how kind of small the fight is between him and Jamis in the end. Like, there's something so personal because it's not about the fight itself. It's about the fact that, like, Paul's ascending into, like, a god essentially during this fight.
It'll
like,
also give you a little taste.
Right, it's not what this, because one of the complaints is like, this movie didn't end with a bang. I was like, stop watching only Marvel movies. You're going to be more satisfied. But I don't think that was the point. Like, I think it was supposed to be for Paul to kind of ascend, and like him having it was that scene where like Jamis was talking about the mystery of light. Like, he was seeing prescient visions of like him and Jamis being best friends, and he has to kill this man now. Like, It's all very confusing, but it's confusing to him. I think that's the whole point. But I think this fight is going to be like extremely choreographed. Like, there's a reason you get Austin Butler to do this role as well. Like, I think something special is going to happen from this. So that's my matchup. I think we're going to witness something pretty darn cool.
Yep.
What's your most anticipated Star Wars project of this year?
This year, so it's between. So what are we between? The Mandalorian, Ahsoka.
Yep.
Anything else? Are we getting that Sith show, The Acolyte?
I think it is the end of this year, if I'm not mistaken, something like that.
Oh man, that's tough. I'm intrigued by The Acolyte because it's uncharted territory, and I think that's always super interesting. But it's The Mandalorian. Sure. It's been so long since we've seen a proper Mandalorian season. You know, Boba Fett looking at you.
Yep.
I mean, this first quarter of the year is going to be dominated by Pedro Pascal between The Last of Us and The Mandalorian.
It's like Pedro Pascal and Jonathan Majors are just going to be the biggest stars on the planet Earth in the next couple months.
So, I just think that show is really good. Andor, obviously, we talked about it and how good it is. It's okay. It's all right.
It's decent.
But I mean, I think, like I said, I think that second season of The Mandalorian, it was great and gave us some really satisfying moments, but I'm hoping this third season kind of just goes back to basics, goes back to what made season 1 so great, and really hones in on that relationship between the two of them.
It's like the gunslinger aspect with like him having to be like a traveling father on top of this. Yeah,
and like they're gonna explore this reluctant hero narrative with him as far as like
I love a reluctant king story of not
and like ascending to the throne of Mandalore.
I'm looking at you, Aegon.
Looking at you, Jon Snow. And yeah, I just think it's lining up to be interesting because obviously, like, it's gonna have, like, it feels like Filoni was really involved with the second season of The Mandalorian, and it feels like now that Ahsoka's coming out, like, this feels like Favreau is kind of like taking the reins back. Like, I know his hands are all over like a ton of these episodes. He's
got all the talent.
Bryce Dallas Howard's coming back to do more stuff.
Listen, if you're listening again, just give her I think she has the best handle on Star Wars, like, in terms of the big budget, the smaller aspect things, the themes, the narratives. Like, I think you give her a writer and you get her. Obviously, I'm a fan of having the director in the room while if they don't direct it, having them like all co-direct or co-write. Give her the trilogy. Like, I know you guys are doing a trilogy. I know it. You guys are doing a new trilogy. Whenever that comes out, who knows? Maybe you're going to wait until Secret Wars is over to do the new trilogy. Maybe give it another 3 years. Give her the trilogy. Like, I think she would be incredible. Let her follow in her father's footsteps. Like, she's awesome at this.
Yeah, so it's The Mandalorian for me.
That's good. I think. That's good. I'm going to have to go with Jedi Survivor. I don't know why that game means so much to me. It might be of when I played that game or replayed that game, I guess. Because
most times with games, you don't choose them, they choose you.
And the number one example for that for me is The Last of Us. Yeah. It just that game clung onto my brain much as the cordyceps didn't do to Ellie. But that game just, it has everything. It has your actual gaming part of like you holding a controller. But again, I think the most surprising thing about that game, much with the Guardians of the Galaxy game, is that how invested that narrative is and how emotionally invested that narrative is. And I think they're going to double down for this second game. And I really can't wait to see what kind of journey that Cal goes on again. I think Cameron Monaghan is in love with that character. And I don't even think I know that he's going to come in live act, like he's going to be a live action character at some point too. So I can't wait. I need March to come quickly because I need to play this game. Like, I really can't wait.
Yeah, that's a great choice. It's like I said, great sequels, for games and movies, I guess you could say, really take what made the first one great and then does more things. Right. And I'm hoping Jedi Survivor does that. Right. So,
all right, what's your most anticipated performance for this year?
I think...
And why is it Aaron Taylor Johnson is Craven?
No, that's not it. I'm going to say most anticipated performance. I'm going back to this matchup. I'm going to say Cillian Murphy.
Come on, man. You took mine?
Did I?
Yes.
It just feels like one of those things that is going to be very special.
I think it's funny, like...
And understated, I think, too. I don't think it's going to be like this big... bombastic performance.
I think the way Cillian Murphy, for me, why I like love him as an actor, it's not in his like booms, it's in his like crest. That's where he's truthfully incredible. I mean, it's funny to even say this for a character or for an actor that has a career defining like character, like that he's gonna have another career definer, because like he's had Peaky Blinders, he's reached like the tops of his career as like a TV show actor, but I think this is the one where it's like, obviously Cillian Murphy's one of the greatest talents on the planet, but I think this is the one where it's going to be like Cillian Murphy is like an all-time actor. Like this, it's funny because he's been in the background of 4 or 5 Christopher Nolan movies. Yeah. Like, this is the one where he finally gets to be the star of this movie. Like,
a star among stars too. Right. Like, this is like a 2017 Golden State Warriors lineup. Right. Yep. And like, look what happened. Like with that Warriors team. Like, it was unfair. Yeah. Like, it's like they just breezed through basketball. Like, you've done it. You've solved basketball. Right. Congratulations. Yep. So like, Cillian Murphy's like, he's basically like in the Kevin Durant spot, where like, you're now a star among stars. Yeah. Like, Robert Downey Jr.'s in...
Matt Damon's
in this. We talked about the cast for months. It was like a running gag. And he's in this movie with all these stars, and he's the star. Like, he is he's the Oppenheimer.
It's just... It's his look. Like, he gives a look in the trailer, like, of, like... just conflict, despair, like... He's the single... He might be, like... You look at, like, the world, right? And, like, he could possibly be, like... in like the top 10 most important people to ever exist on in the world because of the thing that he created. Like
Cillian Murphy.
Correct, Cillian Murphy. He created that fear toxin for Batman. But like,
Oppenheimer. Yeah,
Oppenheimer created the thing that is probably it's the most feared weapon ever of anything. Like,
no kidding. Yeah,
and it's funny that Tenet tackles this of like the scientist that sent created the first inversion was like she considered herself Oppenheimer. You want to hear my theory that I've said before? That I think that Priya is the scientist from the future. Like I think she sent herself back, like she inverted herself to go back to the past, and like I think that's why she talked about it that way. I think it's actually Priya is the one that started the entire quote unquote World War III. But that's why like Robert Oppenheimer is like. He truthfully is like one of the most interesting people ever because like he didn't do it for means to be like evil, but like he created one of the most inherently evil things anybody can possibly ever create known to man. Yeah. So, and I think just from the trailers, not only Christopher Nolan's capturing that, but Cillian Murphy is capturing that. Like
the weight.
There's so much man. Like there's like a broken nature in him, and like I think he's gonna win the best actor for the 2024 Oscars. Like I don't see anybody else getting that. Like I truthfully think that he's gonna deliver the performance of a lifetime.
Yeah, it's really like that movie is inherently like a Dangerous Minds concept. Like
right.
It literally is. Like
it's not just the fact that it's dealing with the inception of the nuclear bomb. It's the fact that Christopher Nolan's the person that's is the one that, because in my other theory is that Oppenheimer is the prequel to Tenet and it takes place in the same universe.
That would be fantastic. You get a post-credit sequence and it's Robert Pattinson shows up.
What's happened, and then that's it, and then the movie ends.
J. Robert Oppenheimer. I'm here to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative.
I'm here to talk to you about the Tenet Initiative.
But yeah, I'm glad we agreed on that.
Yeah.
Like, it's just you watch that trailer and you're just like, oh,
right.
Whoa.
Yep. I think a dark horse. I think it's this year. I also think Joaquin Phoenix is playing Napoleon Bonaparte this year. I almost said Dynamite. I almost did. But the intriguing thing for that is that it's Ridley Scott that's directing that movie too. So if that and Joaquin Phoenix is also going to be in an Ari Aster film this year. So Joaquin Phoenix is staying busy in 2023, which is great for me. I've said it. He's my favorite actor. It was Chadwick Boseman, and now it's been Joaquin Phoenix for a little bit. So I love that guy. I love the way he connects the stories and the approach he takes to them. So glad to see him working. So it was almost him, but I mean it would just be over because it's like Christopher Nolan, we talked about it. He's like the blockbuster guy that does not make Marvel or DC or Star Wars projects. He's like the only one that can truthfully get a theater filled for like a movie and like not have to have like the Disney logo or like the Warner Brother or the DC logo before it or the Star Wars logo before it. What's your most anticipated game of this year?
Oh boy. Yeah.
let me let you cook for a little bit.
Man, what just a year this is going to be for everything. We've done like an hour already at just these things, like just talking about all these incredible things coming, but gaming in particular, man. My most anticipated game, you're probably going to say Spider-Man. So I'm gonna say Final Fantasy 16. Because
Sword and Sorcery Final Fantasy is cool.
It's very cool, and so this is the first mainline Final Fantasy game since 20. I typed in the wrong thing. It's the first mainline game in the Final Fantasy series since 2016. So Final Fantasy 15 came out in 2016. They released Final Fantasy VII Remake, obviously, in 2020. They released...
Huge shit.
Yeah, but based off Final Fantasy VII, which came out in 1997, so it's not a new thing. Right. They released Strangers of Paradise, which is a retelling of Final Fantasy 1. That came out last year, but this is the first one in 6 years that's a new mainline Final Fantasy game, and these things always hit. These mainline Final Fantasies always hit. They always sell. Final Fantasy 15 is still one of the best-selling games of all time. Before that, Final Fantasy 13 was. Final Fantasy 14 continues to win all sorts of awards because it's an MMO and it's always being updated. So there's something about these mainline Final Fantasy games that never misses, and Final Fantasy 16 from what we've seen from it, looks incredibly impressive.
Yep. Especially off the back of Elden Ring, too.
Yeah, it's the first mainline Final Fantasy game to be rated M.
Yeah, great. Good decision.
Which is really interesting because, you know, this is, the second word in the name is fantasy. Like, that's what this franchise has always been. And that's not to say that it hasn't tackled dark things, because a lot of them, probably from like Final Fantasy IV on, has this level of darkness and complexity to the characters in the story, but for this to be rated M means it's going to go in a very visceral direction. The protagonists are all aged up. They're all like in their late 20s, early 30s, whereas like typical Final Fantasy protagonist is in their early 20s, late teens for the most part. So I think that there's going to be like an adult nature to this game that it hasn't had before. The combat is accelerated. They got the Devil May Cry battle director to do the combat.
Yeah.
And if anyone's ever played a Devil May Cry game, those games are hectic. They've done an overhaul of the summon system to where now there are these big kaiju-esque battles between summons. It just feels like that this is going to be special. I mean, Final Fantasy XIV, I've never played personally because I'm not an MMO person, but that game is revered for its story, it's revered for its characters, and the Final Fantasy XIV devs are doing this game. They're doing Final Fantasy XVI, so for them to be tackling another mainline Final Fantasy, a regular single-player one, is incredibly exciting to me. I mean, I could talk for days about all these other games that are coming out this year. I mean, Jedi Survivor, Spider-Man, Street Fighter, Tekken, all these things. Forspoken is coming out at the beginning of this year. So, but Final Fantasy 16, ever since I saw the first trailer for it, and then the trailer that they showed at the Game Awards, I was just like, wow. Like, it's coming out in June.
Right. Yep.
It's another big June release.
Nuts.
June 22nd, I think, is when it comes out. So, you know, anything that gaming wise that drops, if you're dropping in the summer or you're dropping in the fall winter, like the company's expecting big things. So yeah, Final Fantasy 16 for me.
You know, there's this thing called the Game Awards, right?
Yeah.
So what was the one thing that wasn't shown at the Game Awards that everybody wants?
Yeah.
That just tells me that this is the most anticipated game of the year. This is the game that people just can't stop talking about. They showed off one snippet of trailer.
A teaser trailer,
and
yeah.
people lost it. And, like, they're just... It's to the point of, like, movie waiting, trailer waiting. Yeah. Like, that just tells me how, you know, how infinitely strong this Spider-Man this PlayStation franchise is. It's the new king of the PlayStation franchise, I think. It's the top dog, in my opinion. I think it's what runs it at this point. And I think adding the second game to it is going to help, too. And it's just kind of the approach to having two Spider-Man, having two protagonists. I think this is it's going to be in the modern age one of the first games where it's like, I think the way it's going to play, it's not like having like one protagonist and then like somebody kicks in. Like, it feels like both of them are going to have main pieces of the story which you play totally to, which is cool.
Yeah.
And then the villain set in this game too is going to be awesome. And it's funny, I almost just said movie because the approach that they take narratively too. I mean, it's funny that a first debut owns narratively. And this game, the 2018 owned narratively.
Well, it's what the Sony studios have down at this point is the storytelling.
Yeah, it goes down to so much. It goes down to directing too. I mean, it's funny. We were talking about it before, like Neil Druckmann and Troy Baker, right? Like we think about them as like movie directors and movie actors because of like how prolific they are. And I think that same thing applies for Spider-Man and Yuri Lowenthal. I think. I said it. I think by the time his career is like up and like he's like an old man, I think he could reach Kevin Conroy level of being so synonymous with like an animated Spider-Man. Like,
I agree.
I don't think there's any secret he's probably going to be in Across the Spider-Verse. Like,
we've seen him. We already seen him. But I think he's going to be voicing and doing a thing.
Right. Yeah. So, and that doesn't happen without that first game being incredible, and like everything that first game made it incredible. And I talked about it before. Miles Morales was the first PlayStation 5 game and I don't think that was a mistake. That was the first game on the new engine. Like, they wanted people to play that on the PS5 engine and be like, this is how good this game could be. And now we're gonna add Peter Parker back into this.
I think both, because the Final Fantasy director said this, but I think Final Fantasy 16 and Spider-Man 2 are both going to fully utilize the power of next gen. I know Yoshi P, the director of Final Fantasy 16, specifically said that he's he wants this game to fully utilize what the PS5's got, and I think Spider-Man 2 is going to do that also, because, I mean, man, talk about smoothness of gameplay between Spider-Man 1 and Miles Morales. Yeah. It's incredible. Yeah. Like, just, it's perfect the way the web swinging works, the combat.
Well, remember when we saw the web, you know what I remember first? I remember the Fisk Tower gameplay from like, and I think it came out in like 2016. Like it came out like late in, like it was around the time like where Civil War came out. Like they were like, oh, you're getting a Spider-Man game, and like here's the first, because it was like a year and a half before we actually got the game. It was like the end of 2016, I think. And I just remember I was like, this game is gonna be amazing. Yeah. And then you emotionally gut punch us with like the third act of that game too, and it's just, you culminate all those things and you add Miles Morales, who's like an ascending star in fandom right now. Like, you put all those things together, I think this game is gonna be one of the most remembered games ever. It's gonna be probably one of the most remembered sequels ever. It's gonna have tons of replayability. I'm hoping your theory's right, where Venom's gonna be a playable character. I think it would be cool. You have Kraven, you have Green Goblin, you have Venom, like all these like this game has got everything. Like this, it's one of those everything projects. So.
I agree. I cannot wait. I fully believe that whatever Sony's first state of play is this year, we're gonna see it.
Yep.
We're gonna get that Fisk Tower kind of demo that we got in the first game.
I think they know what kind of power Jedi Survivor has, so they're gonna let it, because I think their original plan was to release this game in like the middle of the year. Like I think they wanted the same thing, like a summer game, and then I think they knew like Jedi Survivor's got a fan base now, and like Star Wars is on a new kick right now, so like maybe don't do it in June because you want people to get through. And then Final Fantasy is like, it's got one of the most hardcore fan bases of all time in gaming, so let it take the June spot. Like I think this game is a prime September October release spot, and let it own like 4 months and go right into the next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's late. The year for Sony as far as video games is laid out perfectly. You're getting a Horizon Forbidden West DLC in February. You're getting Jedi Survivor in March. You're getting Final Fantasy 16 in June. You're getting Spider-Man in September, October. Right. And then you're getting Final Fantasy 7 Remake in probably the following January.
Yeah, part 2, right?
Yeah, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, yeah. You're good. You're good to go. Yeah. You're done.
all the gaming you'd ever want. All the gaming. All right, so I think we got 3 more left. I think there's 3 more left. What is your most... there's 2 more left. So what's your most anticipated
TV show?
Oh, there is 3 left. So what's your... We'll leave TV show and movie for last. So what's your most anticipated Marvel project for 2023?
It's Guardians 3. It just is.
It just is.
It just is. As much as, I'm intrigued by the Marvels. Obviously, I'm excited for Ant-Man Quantumania and what Jonathan Majors brings. But Guardians is one of my favorite. When we did our MC rankings, the 2 Guardians movies are both in the top 10. Like they're great, and it's in great hands. Like this is not just the Guardian swan song in the MCU, but it's also James Gunn's swan song in the MCU.
He's one of like the last old guard directors too. It's like I think it's just him and Ryan. It's him, Ryan Coogler, and Peyton Reed are like the last ones.
If you even count Ryan Coogler, I mean he's relatively new,
right?
So yeah,
that's true. It's like he came into the universe 10 years into the universe. Yeah,
So James Gunn's been around since the very beginning. Almost the very beginning. So
he's been around since 2013. Or I mean, we're not thinking about when the movie releases. We're thinking about like when conception. He's been around since like probably like around 2012, maybe.
2012. Yeah. So it's Guardians 3, and for all the reasons that you could ask.
Yeah. I'm going to pick a dark horse, and it's the same reason why I like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's a feel of the show, and I'm going to pick Secret Invasion as the one.
That's a good one.
I wasn't before, and then they released the trailer, and I was like, this is kind of cool. Like this is playing out to be kind of cool.
Another swan song.
Yep, another swan song. So this may or may not be the last we see of Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson. I don't think this is going to be the last of him, but just the potential this show has is like a spy like a straight up spy thriller. You give me Ben Mendelsohn. Don't let me forget to add Ben Mendelsohn to the whiteboard, because I think Ben Mendelsohn's amazing in anything he does. But yeah, this show can shape up to be great. But you know what? I'm sorry, I can't. It's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume. It's just that first movie means so much to me. Just anything you do Guardians is great, man.
Yeah.
I talked about like how much better I like 2 upon my MCU rewatch. It rose my rankings a lot more than it was before. I still think it's my favorite Marvel movie. Like it's the favorite one that's ever been released. The feel is incredible. The music's incredible, but it's just the heart that movie has. And I think you think heart, you just quintuple what you think is going to happen and then probably add some, and that's what this movie's going to be too. So I think this movie's going to rip your heart out, but it's going to put it back together in all new ways.
Couldn't have said it any better. Yeah, that movie, I'm not ready. This movie's going to damage me physically and emotionally.
Yeah. You ready for the TV show? You want to say it on 3?
1, 2, The Last of Us.
The Last of Us, yeah. There's no if, and, or but.
It's coming out in a couple weeks, but it's definitely easily my most anticipated.
It was to the point where, like, I really want to campaign to, like, do this show week to week. Like, just, like, get an extra episode of this show in just so we could talk about this show to talk about it week to week. Like, you said it the best. Like, it's one of the best points I've heard. Like, this narrative plays incredible as a television show. Like, you get Druckmann in there to be like, let him do it. Just let him actually do the thing. And then you add you remember when that first trailer dropped and it was like Neil Druckmann, we were like, thank God. And then it said the Chernobyl and we were like, ooh.
From the creators of Chernobyl.
I said, wait a minute. You mean that show that like was the Dark Horse like best show of like, what was that, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Like
2 or 3 years ago.
Like, we were like, wait a minute. Like, is this show going to be the best thing ever? And then you get Pedro Pascal, who's just got all the mannerisms of Joel down. You get Bella Ramsey's that's got so much youthful exuberance. She's really owning Ellie, I think, and like, nobody cares about the look weirdos. Like, nobody cares about that. What you should focus on is like how she talks, how she walks, is like all those things as Ellie, and I think she's really getting it.
Yeah.
And if I talked about Guardians ripping your heart out, like, this show's gonna rip your heart out and then, like, stomp on it and then, like, back over it with the semi-truck and then, like,
not put it back together.
Honestly.
And just leave you there.
Yeah, it's just gonna leave you there. Like, we should have, like, a trigger warning before every episode. Like, you're gonna be emotionally distraught after watching this one.
Yeah.
But I said it when I talked about The Last of Us Part 1. The worst, best thing about that franchise, there's just the slightest glimmer of hope. And you just can't escape it.
We're being gaslit.
Yeah. And you just come back and then you're kicked again and you're like, but there's just a small piece.
Yeah.
It's a little piece of hope everywhere, but and I think that's what that universe is about. It's like it's just a small glimmer of hope. Ellie's the emo to that. Joel's the emo of that redemption and getting a second chance. And I think this might be one of the best things of this year.
Well, I mean, the tagline from the Fireflies is like the perfect kind of analog for the universe. When you're lost in the darkness, look for the light. Yep. Like that's literally what The Last of Us is all about. It's that's it. That's what it is. And I like we've talked about before with the show, like it's gonna grab a casual viewer. Like it is. Yep. I know it is.
That Sunday HBO. I talked about it before. Like, HBO Max has revolutionized the Sunday night. Like, they've really owned what the idea of, like, there's no, like, it's not a Disney Plus, like, 3 a.m. drop or midnight for West Coast, like, middle of the week. Like, it's Sunday primetime watch. Like, the world stops to watch these shows. Euphoria had happened, House of the Dragon had happened, Game of Thrones had happened, The Watchmen, it was happening for a little bit, like, The White Lotus, it was happening recently, like, Chernobyl, it was happening. Like, that Sunday slot is so coveted, and, like, there's a reason that The Last of Us got that slot.
Yeah. It's one of those things. It's like Avatar. Like, I have so much faith that it's gonna apply, like, to a casual viewer, that people are just gonna latch onto it, and that disparity between, like you said, like those who know and those who don't know. Like,
my God, yeah,
I can't wait.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
One day, I'm gonna have to, like, release the text of, like, me playing the remaster of Part 1, and, like, from day one to, like, the end credits of the game, like, just how much I felt like I changed, like, after I played that game. Like, I didn't feel like the same person before and after, so... You
came out looking like Cal Kestis from Jedi Survivor.
Right. I went in looking like Kid Cal Kestis that was jumping around learning powers, and I came out as, like, a disheveled Jedi. Man, this show, man. And that's what we're going to be talking about next week too. So that is, we're going to talk about all things Last of Us next week.
Yeah.
What's your most anticipated movie of this year?
It's so hard.
And why is it the third Morbius re-release?
In a year where there's no Avatar, I must say, I think it's Oppenheimer.
Yeah, you know what? It's so special, and I talked, and I just said it, but it's so special to, like, he's the one guy that's in there that doesn't have to worry about franchise or, like, not, like, he's just got the fact that he's the biggest, like, non-fandom director that there is. Like, it's truthfully in the modern age, it is Christopher Nolan. Like, when he makes a movie, like, you stop. Like, and I think Jordan Peele's getting there too. Like, when Jordan Peele makes a movie, you stop. Like, and Oppenheimer's gonna be the perfect stop for the summer.
Yeah, it's from the day, like, that movie got announced, and then they were like, Cillian Murphy's gonna be Oppenheimer, and I'm like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah.
And then, like, the running gag of, like, the cast rollouts.
Because it was like,
what
Robert,
is happening?
And then it was Matt Damon, and we were like, and then it was Emily Blunt, and we were like, and then it was Florence Pugh, and you're like, this cast is casting.
It's just gonna be, and it's in perfect hands. Like, Nolan can direct anything, and I just know it's gonna be tight.
Yep.
It's gonna be just tense,
Yeah,
throughout.
I feel like this might be one of his better movies, and that's really saying something.
I'm a big fan of, like, his historical work that he's like Dunkirk.
He's never done a bad historical. I mean, you go back to the Prestige. I mean, Prestige was still narrative, but it still, takes place in the past. Obviously, like you said, Dunkirk, and then then you have Oppenheimer. Like, he hasn't done wrong, in my opinion, in his career.
Yeah.
Looking at you people that don't like Tenet, just say you're confused and move on.
And it's hard to just that movie. There's like an aura. There's an aura about.
Oh, we're back to the Batman way of thinking about this.
Kinda, yeah. Like, it's just like there's just an aura about it that, like, it's haunting. It's just like, I don't know. It just feels like between the performance that we're gonna get from Cillian Murphy and et al.
Yeah.
It feels like one of those things. Like, there's just an aura about it and I'm not sure if we're ever gonna get, like, a proper, like, flashy trailer for it. We might not.
I love the way they're crafting these trailers.
Me too. It's just like,
it feels real. Like, I mean, obviously it happened.
Yeah.
But, like, it feels
like
very,
you're locked in.
Yeah, right. Like,
you got me locked into a trailer.
It feels like a sporting event almost. Like, I don't know how to explain this. Like, it feels like something that's ever so present.
It has, like, the ticking clock.
There's like the flame fallout from the nuke.
Yeah.
Like, it playing throughout the trailer, and like, it's just the quotes that they're picking in the trailers too. Like, this truthfully is like one of the most devastating pieces of like innovation that's ever been created, and like just having Cillian Murphy back, that I think is just genius. And then having Christopher Nolan be the person to do the Oppenheimer biopic is just it was a match made in heaven or hell.
Yeah, really. Go ahead and talk about Dune.
Yeah. Yep. This guy knows me, man. I know you love Final Fantasy. You know I love Dune.
Yeah.
Look at us.
Go ahead and talk about Dune.
Man, I can talk about Dune for a month. Just this.
We know this. It happened.
It's again. I implore everybody to look at movies this way. Don't think about past, or don't think about the title. Think about team that's working on it. And I mean, Transformers is a great example of this. Star Wars Television is a good example of this. Like, it's not about what came before. Like, okay, the sequel trilogy to Star Wars may not be great, but Filoni and Favreau have a handle on Star Wars right now. Transformers, there's no Bay to worry about, like, and I think it's working out for them.
Yeah.
And same goes for Dune. I mean, it was, again, I'm going to use the same thought process as Spider-Man. Like, it was the thing that nobody touched. Like, nobody was thinking about touching Dune. Like, it was, we can't do it. Like, audiences aren't going to connect. Like, it's too tough. Like, how are you going to recreate this world? And then you get the guy that somehow revolutionized Blade Runner, which was already the tallest task you can ask for, with Ridley Scott being like one of the godfathers of science fiction, and like he doubled down and made that world so real. And then Dune is the same way, and I mean, Dune is taking that approach of like I don't really see the inaccessibility piece of Dune. Like, I was watching it the other day, because I can't stop. But I feel like that movie is very accessible. Like, I don't really see I just think it's because I do think it's like everybody's brain's tuned to like Marvel and Star Wars and DC right now. So like, they're like, this is different. And I'm like, is it really? You got a talking raccoon and tree, but this is the different thing. So, yeah, just having Greg Fraser be your cinematographer. I said it for Tenet, like, there's a reason where Hans Zimmer wants to go work on this and not work with Christopher Nolan for Tenet. Like, there was a reason for that. And that's because the challenge that this movie entails, and challenge brings out the best in everybody. And I think that's the best thing to say about this movie, is that the challenge, which has this universe, is going to be amazing. Like, I just can't wait for the ascension, and then the subsequent dissension of Paul is going to be crazy. It's going to be awesome to see. And again, I'm not going to ever back down from it, because he's 26 or just turned 27, I think. I do think Timothée Chalamet is like, he's one of like he's a movie star. Like, it's not like he is our days Leo right now. Like, he's young, like, he's in so many things, and like working with like some of the biggest directors in the, like, there's a reason why directors are going to get him. They're not just doing it because they can, they're doing it because he's got talent. And I think he's the best person to lead this franchise too. And you'd want to talk about ensemble, same thing. You have Rebecca Ferguson, which I personally think from 2021, like, I think she was robbed of being mentioned for like a best supporting actress. Like, I think she gave the best performance in that movie. And I think she had a performance with weight. I think I want to talk about something like that, because of it was the idea of like, she was supposed to create this thing, but like the thing she created was like a son that she loved. Like, but that wasn't the point. Like, the point was to create something that can get something in the future.
Yeah.
Like, she was never supposed to like probably love this kid at all, but like, she got a son that she was fond of and loved, and like she loses her concubine, and like her world gets turned upside down, and like everything she'd worked for is gone, and like now she's on a new path. And I think Rebecca Ferguson like portrayed that, like, just, it was an inspired performance too. And I mean, number one thing, it's the world. That world is just incredible to look at. It's something that has depth. And with being on 2 planets, like, this world's got like actual depth to it, like something you really want to explore. And you're going to see that so much in this next movie too. And like I said, I think it's going to be a trilogy, and then plus probably, but for now I think it's going to be a trilogy based thing. So part 1, part 2, and then Dune Messiah. So I think those 3 films put together, I think it's going to be like, it's like it's everything I love about science fiction it's in this movie. And the best thing in my opinion about science fiction isn't the science or the fiction, it's the human. I think it's the best part about science fiction is the human element in that.
Great.
Shout out Dune. I might watch Dune tonight just because I can.
Yeah, that's
2023.
It's over already.
Yeah. Oh crap. What's 2024?
Next week, 2024 episode.
Yeah. Yep. The week after that, 2025.
Avatar 3.
Avatar 3. The Way of the Fire People.
Yeah. As we've outlined, it's going to be... And there's so much stuff that we haven't talked about.
Oh, there's so much... And there's things we don't know. I mean, a lot of times with indie projects, like, they don't... I mean, to the public... if I probably did some digging, I can find, but there's a lot of indie projects that goes in my realm of movies court scene that nobody else has seen, that I'll talk about. A lot of games drop out of nowhere sometimes, and Rob gets to play. Like, that's how this goes, man. There's a lot of TV shows that are probably going to come out that we're going to be like, ooh, like, again, like, what did we had? We had like Under the Banner of Heaven. We had The Bear. Like, we've had shows that have just come. Like, we're finishing shows. Like, Barry's finishing this year, I think, or next year. Like, things are going to come out like throughout the year.
News. So much news is going to happen.
Oh my gosh! I didn't even throw in what your dream casting for 2024 or 2023, and I picked mine because it's Michael Shannon as William Stryker. Whenever we get to that point,
like, think of all the news that we covered over the last year, and we're going to get all of that.
Yeah.
Will we get another Oppenheimer-esque casting run? Maybe.
What movie would it be on?
I don't know.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it.
Oppenheimer 2.
Yeah, Oppenheimer 2.
He made another nuke.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, that's going to be... I'm looking forward to this year a lot.
Yeah, man.
For a lot of different reasons. speaking of which, not really speaking of which, but what have you been doing?
I've been doing a little bit, man. I've been playing God of War 2018.
Nice.
I told myself I was gonna was just gonna play. Yeah, boy. I was just gonna play Ragnarok, and I was like, I can't deprive myself of 2018. So playing through 2018, it's great. And there's a reason that. I think it was in the top 3 for Game of the Year in 2018, right?
I think it lost that to Red Dead.
It won. It won. Oh, it did, because it was Spider-Man, if I'm not mistaken. Right?
Yeah.
I thought Spider-Man did win Game of the Year in 2018, because wasn't there like a Game of the Year edition Spider-Man that came out in 2019?
There's a Game of the Year edition for every game.
Nah. Regardless, trucking through
God of War, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I'm trucking through God of War 2018. The direction in that game is awesome. Shooting that as a one take is just an inspired choice from a game that was very like early 2000s before. Like
Spider-Man was nominated for Game of the Year.
But yeah, that game's incredible. I love Christopher Judge as Kratos and Sonny Soljic as Atreus. It's great. Their dynamic is great. And for people that haven't played the original 3 games, like just thinking about it, and like there's so much baggage that Kratos has that like you're peeling back layers every step you take in that game. You're peeling back layers, whether it's something he says, whether it's a action he takes, whether it's weapons you discover. Like he's got a past. And I just love revealing all of that to myself.
Yeah, it's great. Between that and Ragnarok, it's a great double feature. If that's the route you're gonna take.
Right. And what else have I been doing? I mean, this is not gonna make sense because I'm gonna rewatch the stuff, but I'm still doing my MCU rewatch show. I'm still in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 5. Which is still good. It's still good. And S.H.I.E.L.D. should have probably ended with season 5, because season 5 feels very much last season-esque of a show, because they bring everything back, because they have the whole fear dimension thing, and then everybody from all the other seasons comes back. So cool. But also, I've been rewatching Marvel Phase 4, because I think if I time this right, by the time we get to Ant-Man and the Wasp, I'll be done with that part of the rewatch. So, watched WandaVision again. I got a lot of thoughts on WandaVision, which we'll save because our prelude to Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania will be instead of a Ant-Man through the MCU. We might do that depending on what the weeks look like, but
you're repeating yourself.
Ants. Ant-Man, greatest promo of all time, by the way.
Greatest promo.
We're probably gonna sublet that with Phase 4 in the MCU to talk about, because Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is the first project in Phase 5. So I got done with WandaVision. That show's interesting. I was bringing me back to 2020, and like that show had the most insane stranglehold on everybody.
We had no expectations.
Exactly.
Like,
That's exactly what it was.
We didn't know what was happening.
They were saying like, oh, anything can happen. We were like, anything? And then I watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I've got so many thoughts on that show too, because what are my 2 big takeaways? One is that it's the best looking it's that and Loki are like the 2 best looking shows. Like that's like really good like ground level cinematography. And like what's my hot take? It's that I think that John Walker is one of the best protagonists in Phase 4. And here we, if not the whole MCU, I think he's great. I think he's a great Dark Mirror of Steve Rogers, and like, you know why it's great? It's because he's the everyman version of Steve. Like he's like what anybody else would do. So I think he's been good. And then I've went through the first 4 episodes of Hawkeye. I guess Yelena's about to jump off the roof, and then we'll be in episode 5 and 6. I just watched Hawkeye because it was the holiday season. Because the next thing I would have watched would have been Black Widow, but I just swapped it for the holidays. So.
Cool. Nice.
Phase 4. It's interesting. I can't wait to talk about that as like its own thing together. I think it's a lot more interesting. And it's more like I think it's something that needs to be talked about a little bit more than just like anger. Like I think it's like an interesting commodity. Like it's not really like just the face front. I think it's a lot of like actual like studio like movie, like the actual like process of like making stuff too. It's not like the actual narrative of what's happening. Like there's a lot because of what happened before. It was like the biggest movies of all time. Yeah. So it's interesting to think about.
Yeah, I agree. I've kind of been taking it easy on a little bit of gaming stuff, but because I've been playing Pokemon. Pokemon Scarlet specifically.
Nice. Did you call your friends and get your cards out?
It's fun, man. It's fun. It reminds me of like the old school Pokemon games. Like,
nice.
It's not difficult, but that's not what it is sometimes. I want difficult, I'll go play God of War on the hardest difficulty.
I've heard,
like
and I don't want to go to Ragnarok because I've heard even on the easier difficulties that I'm going to get mad.
I wouldn't know. I started Ragnarok and I went right to the hardest difficulty.
You're a psychopath, that's why. You can't help yourself.
So it's nice to just have a nice, fun game that doesn't require... I can play that and have a thing, like a TV show running in the background or something, whatever the case is. So I've been having fun with it. I've been playing that. I've been subletting that with playing The Witcher.
Nice.
So that's fun. But I feel like I need to like...
You know who's not playing The Witcher? Henry Cavill.
So I gotta lock into The Witcher before like the gaming part of 2023 starts.
You got till March, my friend.
Yeah, pretty much. So,
that's how I feel about God of War right now. Like, I have till March to finish Ragnarok.
Because
and then
after that, it's over. It's one into the next, into the next, into the next. And that's going to be it. So I got to get The Witcher done.
Yeah. I've also been doing, so I guess I should say now, because I don't know if we introduce a new segment into this show, the Court's Corner for movies, because I'm gonna attempt the 365 movies in 365 days. I'm gonna start with 100 movies in 100 days and see if I can keep going after that. So it's the 3rd. I started with the Banshees of Inisherin on the 1st, and then I'm going to double feature because, you know, life happens. So I'm going to double feature Knives Out and Glass Onion tonight. And then next week when you ask me what I've been doing and then I get my review segment, I'm going to review Glass Onion at the end of next week's episode. After I emotionally damage myself by talking about The Last of Us at length. They don't know, man. The people that haven't played, they don't know.
But they're going to know.
They're going to know.
Very, very soon. But yeah.
I'm just going to say, Henry and Sam, once you guys... it's going to be like the middle way of the season.
Fun sibling dynamic.
Yeah. They're great.
So yeah, that's what we're going to do next week. We're going to talk about The Last of Us.
That's my flippin' brother.
We're gonna talk about The Last of Us and also discuss kind of expectations and other things for the show, like where we think it's going to go, what it's going to cover.
Abby. She's built like an ox.
All those things that people don't love to talk about. We're going to talk about. Up until then, though.
Socials.
Yeah, the socials. You can follow us on Twitter at ProjectINF_pod. You can follow us on Facebook. New episodes of the podcast are posted every Wednesday or Thursday or whatever day we manage. It's usually a Wednesday, but I try.
Yeah. Good luck in July.
Oh. No, I'm getting anxiety.
We gotta get this intern.
I'm gonna get anxiety that whole summer. Instagram
at the Project Infinite Pod.
Thank you very much. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, Amazon,
your grandma's radio.
All that.
Haven't used that joke in a while.
Nope. All those podcast
iHeartRadio, Pandora if it's 2011.
It's a potent mix.
It's amazing. Having Pandora and Apple Music in the same thing. That's a potent mix. All right, guys, listen to this, right? So, I guess the new segment we're going to introduce is...
No, it's going to be an entirely new show.
Okay, never mind. Well, the thing is, we're going to drop Quaritch, not Stephen Lang. We're going to drop Quaritch into a new universe. Every week. And what did we do? Okay, so week 1, we're going to start with Marvel, because that's easy. So instead of Harrison Ford getting the job as Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, it should be Stephen Lang. Give him a mustache. And just let him go off.
Just imagine Quaritch as the Red Hulk. That's all I need to say.
Oh my gosh. You're not in your lab anymore.
You thought he enjoyed being a Na'vi? Man, imagine him as a Hulk.
Oh my god, it would be the greatest thing that he can ever achieve. Like, it'd be like, my general mind with the Hulk body. That's a potent mix. Gives me the goosebumps.
Give me the goosebumps. Look forward to that. I don't know if
you're gonna cut this part, but
nope. I don't have a title worked out for our spinoff podcast, but it's coming. Don't worry.
Wait till the week we actually get Stephen Lang on this too.
That's the first spinoff that we're doing. I don't care.
What a crazy spinoff. It's not like me doing movie reviews or you doing like having a gaming channel. Like, it's just us doing an impression of Quaritch from Avatar in different universes. Oh, just wait until he gets into the Lord of the Rings. Got the ring and it's corrupting everybody. That's a potent mix.
He would have to
You're
be
not
like,
at the two towers anymore.
you need to be stopped. Jesus.
Just wait until he gets into the Hunger Games universe. I'm spoiling them. I gotta save them.
Every universe, it's gonna be great. We gotta go, man.
Yeah, we do. First one in 2023. Jeffrey Wright, 2022 might have left us behind, but Commissioner Gordon hasn't.
Man. The Paul Atreides of the podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
But then I'm gonna turn evil.
It's great for a bit, and then we'll see what happens.
It's great. He's fun. He's like the Emperor.
Emperor's New Groove.
His son turns into an actual worm.
Man, Frank
Herbert.
He was on something. He was on some stuff.
Yeah, he was.
But yeah,
drugs.
Yes, baby. So next week we're gonna talk about The Last of Us. Until then, when you're trapped in the darkness, look for the light. Should I have saved that for next week? Sure. Will I say it again next week? Yes. But seriously, guys, we'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Peace.